Have you ever done someone a service or a favor and received nothing but a thank you in return? Perhaps it's all that you deserve, but you still felt shortchanged? In The Prisoner of Zenda by Anthony Hope, we find our protagonist, Rudolph Rassendyll, in a very similar position, but for acts far more honorable than you or I will ever do. My movie adaptation of The Prisoner of Zenda, based on the graphic novel, not the novel, will be a loose one due to the short length of the graphic novel and the need of filler to create a full length film. My adaptation is based mostly on what will make money in today's society of filmmaking and what people want to watch, not on my personal preferences of movies. That includes actors and how things are shot as well. So, Anthony Hope, the author of the original novel, The Prisoner of Zenda, he was a famous English novelist and playwright who is best known for that work. He had originally studied to be a lawyer in college until The Prisoner of Zenda, which was the sixth novel that he wrote, became a great success and he was able to become a writer full time. He was knighted in 1918 for work he had done in the war aside from his literary fame. But remember, this adaptation is based on the graphic novel edition of The Prisoner of Zenda, not on the actual novel that he wrote. So as far as the plot and the exposition and the inciting incident, we meet Rudolph Rassendyll in his luxurious mansion-like home as he comes from a wealthy aristocratic family, and he is speaking about his lineage and his family line with his sister-in-law, as he comes from another aristocratic family in Ruritania as well as this one. Rudolph then decides that he wants to travel to Ruritania. When he reaches Ruritania, Rudolph meets the prince, his half-cousin who he is identical to, and they spend a night drinking, and the prince passes out the night before he is coronated as king, and this is the inciting incident of the story. The rising action of the story is that the prince's attendants ask Rudolph to take the prince's place in the coronation, and he agrees and performs the coronation and is crowned king. However, while the coronation goes on, the prince's brother kidnaps the prince and holds him captive until he can prove that Rudolph is not the king and take the throne for himself. Rudolph is forced to continue pretending to be king, and while he sits on the throne, he falls in love with the princess that was betrothed to the prince, named Princess Flavia. The climax of the story comes when Rudolph and some soldiers storm the castle where the prince is being held captive, and they rescue him. The resolution is that the prince takes the throne and marries the princess that he was betrothed to, even though she loves Rudolph more. And Rudolph returns home with no one knowing he had ever been there, and with no reward, no recognition, and without the woman that he loves. Changes to the plot from my movie adaptation. Princess Flavia would no longer be the cousin of the prince. Instead, she would come from a separate nation just to fit in line with today's morals and beliefs on certain things about who should marry who. After the story is resolved, Princess Flavia would go with Rudolph instead of staying to marry the prince and become the queen. Within the story, it would have to take place over a longer period of time, and there would be a great amount of filler about Rudolph's time as king as he grows and becomes a great ruler and succeeds even without governmental training and no raising as a leader. So for characters, the protagonist, Rudolph Rassendyll, who incites the story by traveling to Ruritania, he would be presented more as a less confident, less capable man to show growth better as he becomes the king and he learns to lead others and succeeds very well in that role. He would be played by Liam Hemsworth, who would also have to play the prince, who is identical to Rudolph for the parts where he is in the film. I picked Liam Hemsworth just because I feel like the prince was very young in this story, and also there will be action scenes within the movie which William Hemsworth has previous experience with. The second character, Duke Michael of Strelsau, the brother of the prince who kidnaps him, He's the antagonist of the story, and the climax is the fight against him and his men to rescue the prince. In the movie, he would have interactions with Rudolph, and he would try to catch him in his words and to prove that he is not the real king and that he should be able to take the place instead. I think he should be played by Keanu Reeves because I think he just has the look of this character down. He's capable of the intense and dark and brooding character that he would need to play. And there are many action scenes within the movie that he would also be involved in that I think he could do well at. Another character would be Princess Flavia, the main love interest of the story, and one of the main reasons that the Duke Michael wants to have the throne because he's in love with her. In the movie, she would be a more powerful female character who's more active in the plot and action because that's a common trope in Hollywood today, and it's something that people like to see and they like to watch. I think Margot Robbie would be a good fit for this role because she has experience in action scenes and she's capable of being the incredible, active, strong female character and also can play the beautiful princess that she's meant to be. Another secondary character is Sapt, who is the sidekick and advisor of Rudolph as he becomes the king and learns the ropes of the government. He would also be more involved in the action in the movie. He would fight alongside Rudolph more, and I think that Mark Ruffalo would be a good fit for this character because he's clearly older than Liam Hemsworth, but not so old that he wouldn't be capable of the action that he would be required to be in for the movie. As far as the setting goes, the general time and place I think are very good. The story takes place in a post-industrialization foreign country called Ruritania. We know this because there's the presence of trains and revolvers and photographs. This will be kept because the period shows the importance of the storyline and the effect it could have on everything. It also permits aspects of the story to take place that couldn't occur in modern times or in a more powerful country that's better organized. If a king didn't show up for his coronation in today's times, the Duke wouldn't just take over the country and become the king automatically like that. One of the things that would have to change about the setting would be the lighting, because in this story, things were lit solely by candlelight or natural outdoor lighting. For the production of the movie, there would be more controlled lighting for most scenes just to enable the audience to see better what's happening and to be able to understand what's going on and show mood better. One of the main themes of the story is that honorable acts are not always rewarded properly. In fighting for a prince he had just recently met and had no loyalty to and no reason to really fight for, Rudolph sustained an injury and was stabbed in the shoulder. Once he had saved the prince, Rudolph did not even get to be with the woman he loved. She chose her country over him, and that's greatly unfair, and he didn't get anything that he deserved for his actions. However, this will have to be portrayed a little differently in the movie because in my adaptation of the movie, the woman that he loves will choose him in the end, but there will be greater attachment of Rudolph to the crown. As he succeeds as king, he'll like to be king and he'll enjoy it and he'll miss it when he has to lose it and return to his normal life. And this helps to show how fair the ending is. Some of the better scenes described in the story is the summer house. In the story, Rudolph receives a note to come to this old abandoned summer house to receive information about the kidnapped prince. The house is described as dark and gloomy and unkempt, and it shows the gloom of the situation as he's actually about to be ambushed there. But in the movie, this will be shown with gloomy lighting and cool colors, shadows, sound effects of creaking, and shots of different unkept parts of the set, like cobwebs or dead plants or whatever it may be. Another well-described part of the story is the coronation, where Rudolph is coronated as king in place of the actual prince. The story describes how Duke Michael's face pales as he watches and he drops his helmet to the floor in shock. It shows the proceedings of the coronation and describes the sound of the organ. They set the tone as a joyous occasion, but they also help to show Rudolph's nervousness. So in the movie, there will be close-up shots of Michael and Rudolph throughout the proceeding, as well as warm natural lighting, some of which intentionally shown through stained glass windows as it took place in a cathedral to shine colored light on points of emphasis. One of the symbols in the story was the ring that Rudolph gives Princess Flavia as a demonstration of his affection. She promises to never take it off, and she keeps it on even once she marries the king in the story. The ring symbolizes Rudolph and Flavia's love, which did not end simply because he left and went back home. The movie would greatly highlight the ring and make a big deal out of it and show it whenever they were conversing. And when she goes with Rudolph and decides to do that in the movie, it would be clearly shown as they held hands and walked away, or some type of shot similar to that. So I tried to make this story more relevant to today through the use of more common tropes of movies and more relatable characters and things that people like to see and want to see, in order that we, even though we don't have governments like this and our technology is far advanced, we can still feel some relatability to the character. So I hope that you're ready to see The Prisoner of Zenda adaptation in theaters in 2032. Thank you.